Well, what's going on, guys? 6:06 in the morning, West Coast time. It's the 26th of May, 2025 for Memorial Monday. Yeah. I tried to examine what it meant to be utilizing a holiday like this. A lot of people would probably go out and have parties, or maybe if they're fortunate enough to go through a cemetery and reevaluate what they look for when it comes down for a holiday such as this, if you can call it such. Other people will be making it into a big deal, but for those of us who have actually had military families of sorts passed away during combat, you know, that's one major aspect of it. But for me, how about the vets who actually passed, who actually lived a long life and had participated and engaged with people, living in life, passing on their experiences to people. And in that instance, I can still memorialize them as well. That being said, it makes the weekend harder for me to deal with because my brother, who had been in the military, made mistakes, got out of it with a big chicken dinner, and struggled for most of his lifetime trying to get it fixed. All the testimony sent over to San Diego Central CENTCOM, I call it, concerning about the Pacific Command as well of the United States Navy, all the way to the Pentagon. So for most of his life he struggled. But in the struggle he was also making people's lives better. So maybe in that aspect, if he wasn't going to get his nation's respect, at least he had a few people's respect. Suppose he could have lived with that one. I had respect, still do, for my brother. He did videos buried around here somewhere. There's a musical tribute I made online, and I can't seem to find the damn video again. I gotta look for it in my files of his life. His birthday's coming up shortly, and I'm having a hard time trying to celebrate and reconcile with that anniversary of his mortal birth into life. What's harder than that to deal with is the anniversary of his death several months later that I still have to contend with. I keep asking myself, how come this had to happen during times I had to go back to college and have to deal with death on a constant basis? My channel is the Diary of a Griever named John Weaver, which is me. I dealt with grieving, still do, aspects of it, triggers of it, what, why it all means something, besides the political stuff I keep throwing out there. But mainly it's my own emotional lifeboat and dealing with my own grieving issues. And dealing with the issues of how to celebrate in this political contentious nightmare we're living in. That how does Memorial Day, how do I celebrate it or do something? There's nothing to celebrate about memorializing lost ones who've sacrificed for basically king and country, or just country and its principles, and sacrifice for the people. And the sacrifices we keep looking at are the ones that are like life and death, but How about the ones that are still living and still making sacrifices left and right? Our memorial is for the dead, yes. But as for sacrificing a lot of things for other than king and country, I mean, that's the thing a long time ago when you're a serf or a knight, you're sacrificing for his lordship over the land and then maybe for God. Unless you're being into a holy crusade and then you're sacrificing for God and then for the king and then for the country. And in our situation in our United States of America, we sacrifice for the Constitution, we sacrifice for the principles of the Constitution and of the people. We just never bothered to do it with an elected official who taken upon himself to be king. We had a problem when we had a king back in the 1700s. So much so that we had to have a row twice. 1776 and then we had 1812. So I guess the first war didn't count and the second war had to count. I'm not saying it's flippant. I'm just making the observations at this point. But they had to sacrifice for something to make something special. Sounds weird. But the sacrifice we make for others, that's not weird. Getting out of oneself and trying to do something that is heroic and noble. And whatever kind of sacrifices we make, sometimes it doesn't come across as heroic or noble. But for those who are affected by it, it is. History may never record my brother's name or commitment to the country. Maybe wiped out through history. There are no gravestones for him. At least not yet, anyway. There's no passing markers, except for those that have been affected by his actions. And what happened? Oh, my brother got in and he wanted to be a frogman and discovered there was more to it than just what he saw in the movies. And it changed him a great deal. And sometimes the sacrifice for country is more than what the family can deal with, especially when the family needs him the most on some occasions. And the country sometimes is hard and harsh. Are hard and harsh on the soldiers who have to lay down their lives. Well, yeah, okay. Supreme sacrifice to call it, but there are certain sacrifices that family has to come first before country or king or even God. And there are consequences and judgments paid on that one. And my brother did that. A lifelong of sorries doesn't count it because when you make that kind of mark or decision, you're marked for life. Although I allow my brother to rest somewhere. Right now he rests in a container, or his mortal remains anyway, still in my cabinet. Which eventually I gotta find a resting place somewhere, or just scatter him about the air, and then hope that his spirit will forgive me. But I suppose the government doesn't exactly look too well on the family either, who demands more than what the government wants. The government wants its pound of flesh to be thrown out in battle and see if it can win its honors and glory and everything else, rewarded with pieces of metal and fabric. But is that it? There's more to it than metal and fabric when you're sacrificing. There's more to it than more unsaid or can be said about it. I'm not trying to do a Lion King thing over here, but I'm trying to say that there are more issues pressing than dealing with what we're dealing with right now. And my brother had given what he could. And throughout the rest of his life, he was giving what he could. Despite the fact he had his own struggles he had to live with, and he couldn't get forgiveness out of his country. When you decide to walk away, even for a short time, the country is not so kind. It'll take its marks on it. And sometimes, if it's really harsh enough, you're considered a non-citizen, kicked out, and never to be seen officially. And I've seen people like that on the streets as well. My brother was lucky enough. He didn't get that point. But it still left a mark on him. And he did pass past his birth date. He wasn't cut down by any foreign objects entering his body. He was only cut down by his own body deteriorating on him to a point where he couldn't function anymore. Respiratory distress, they called it. I imagine if it's going to be my time to go, and even though I'm a civilian, pure and pure, never had a chance to get into the military because of a heart condition, that maybe my heart will be given out on me eventually, and maybe it'll be from a broken heart. The pain will be so damn extreme that even I wouldn't be able to deal with it, and just, that's it. Blood vessels popped, and then life goes out. Maybe my soul will find some peace and find my family, and then lifelong or eternity long of apologies or something for not living my life thoroughly or fully enough. And yes, I miss my family a great deal. And I'd like to do whatever I can to take care of them, even in the afterlife. My job as a caregiver. My job as the youngest son. My job as being a recorder of events and records of my family as much as I can remember and talk about stories. What my channel has had. Display images of what was and struggle with what is. Memorial Day, we traditionally leave it for the veterans who passed on. It's never also about the family members or anybody else being caregivers or caretakers or anybody care to remember the vets. No, this is strictly for the vets. Which kind of sucks because sometimes I like to think my own works are a memorial of sorts. I should have been recognized as well. But again, I'm selfish and self-centered. What can I say? I haven't given everything for my country. No, I gave everything for my family. My family was my world. And if the country doesn't acknowledge that, then that's on it, not me. I acknowledge my family. There are no rewards. There are no medals. There are no glory. No parades. No stroking one's ego going across Pennsylvania Avenue with a bunch of vets and hardware coming through. It's one thing to celebrate a branch of military that way, but another thing when you got a megalomaniac who wants to celebrate an egotistical birthday in front of everybody and show people how great he is. Feed that ego of his. But not me. No, 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 no. When it's my brother's time for his anniversary of birth to be celebrated, as a bottle of Coke still chilling up in the refrigerator. A bottle of Coke. Of all the things I could celebrate it with. But yeah, how do I celebrate Memorial Day? rushing on a paper, which I still got to finish up tonight. And then in the morning, hopefully finalize the thing and throw it out there. And then call the class ended. And then wait for the next term. Give myself a summer off to recoup and do other projects. Keep myself busy before fall comes up. And then I hope I still got my fall classes because that's going to be fun. And live life. Memorial is not just memorializing or remembering the fallen. It is also carrying the hopes and dreams of them forward in one form or another. It is to carry on a legacy. The survivors carry the legacy. Those who have fallen have given us that privilege. We can't waste it. We can't. We can't. I can memorialize my brother all I want. Of his accomplishments, of his dreams, of his hopes. I can remember him fondly a great deal. I can throw out the keywords necessary to make myself a living mess. And I've done it many times. I try to be careful with some of my words because they are triggered. They are triggers. At least for me, anyway. And the process has already started because I've already been talking about my brother and what it means. And I've already used the word once already somewhere in here. So you again, family. The process in my head has already started and it's waiting for an innocuous moment where I'm going to break down. I'm going to see something, hear something, feel something, relive a memory, and it breaks down. And the grieving begins again. Depression kicks in, and all hell breaks loose. And therefore, there goes my essay. Yeah, I'm selfish and self-centered on that one. Self-conscious about it, but I got to get this damn thing done. I made a promise to my mother, but I also made a promise to my brother, and then also to myself. And God, I'm not screwing this up. I'm not screwing this one up. I know I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. It goes beyond that. My brother never thought me as a fool and idiot. He thought me as intelligent. Well, I don't know. I still have to prove him wrong on that one sometimes. I'm seeing things how they're perceived and how life is going right now as it is. I'm afraid that if things are going to get for the worst, as I perceive them to be the worst, I'll be grateful and praying my thanks to God that Dave is not here to go through this damn stuff because he'd be having royal issues over this thing. Whatever political turmoil is and whatever we have to do to survive in this life, he would not like it. Neither do I. So how do I celebrate this day? Well, finish the damn essay or at least get close to it, the thing. Try not to go over with my grieving regarding my brother. David Worth Shaw. You guys kept seeing the picture in the background on the far right shoulder hanging on the wall. Broken clock. When he had served, he wasn't a broken clock. He was a working, wound up person. He had served. He had given what he could. Sometimes they ask for a lot more. And maybe my brother, I can only say that he tried. He tried to accomplish his dreams. One of them was to be a Navy frogman. And there was more to it just what old pictures would show or descriptions. No. They asked for a lot. A lot of sacrifice one way or another. And the families had to sacrifice. But unfortunately, the sacrifice was just way too much. Some lines had to be drawn. He lost his honors, but he never lost what was inside of his heart that he earned. Through blood, sweat, tears, and everything else. Just not enough to satisfy Uncle Sam. But he earned what he did, and he wasn't ashamed of it until the day he died. Not even past that day. And for a long while, I guess I was a bit ashamed trying to talk about him regarding that because I didn't know how anybody else would react to it. But then, it really didn't matter a damn, did they? They could say all the damn nasty stuff they could, and probably say that he wasn't a real soldier, a real SEAL. Well, that's according to them, not to me, not to me, and not to the family who sacrificed along with them. So we can only tell them, naysayers and Uncle Sam, to go stuff it. He did his job, and he did more than what Uncle Sam asked for him to do. He helped others in his lifetime till the day he died. For that, I'm grateful. For that, I memorialize. I don't put up the American flag because I already know the colors have already been sullied by the current administration, who sullied it a great deal more than what anybody else could. You just don't slobber on a flag. And a lot of people have been slobbering all over that damn thing. There have been 8 rallies this past weekend. One was notable. One was in the YouTubes. In a local area press, where they saw this big rally. Maybe about 50 people saluting the flag of the United States, waving it upside down. With America, with Nazi shit all over the damn place. There's no way I can hang up the flag and have it mean something for me because it's already been sullied. But then again, for some people it's just a piece of cloth, but for me it's everything. That's one thing when people argue about the flag being burned, that's against the law. Well, no, it's freedom of speech. You got a problem against the government, you're demonstrating a constitutional right to do so. Oh, they argued about it for decades, tried to pass laws for it, never did pass. They tried, Constitution said it's freedom of speech. The courts said it was freedom of speech if they happened to burn the flag. I'm not doing either. I'm not letting my flag be sullied in any way, shape, or form. And if anybody else is going to be slobbering all over their flags, I don't want the damn thing. I've already got my own flags to remember my brother. He died in the service of his country indirectly. He served other causes that helped other people. He wasn't a terrorist, he was a hero in my book. He didn't go out killing people for a living, thank God. But he was helping people when he could. And that is still part of the American way, American tradition. Sacrificing himself for others. So that's a hell of a way for me to memorialize the day, not to mention his upcoming natal. I just wish there was more to it than that, but it isn't. So that's how I'm selling my day. How are you guys doing on yours? That being said,